really our mission is bringing family and friends around the table. What's up, guys? We are here in beautiful Bethlehem, Georgia for another episode of At the Table with Ryan Lane. And I'm so pumped to introduce our guest today. We've been friends for several years now. It's been cool just to watch him start his business and just the grind. And so it's all the way from Oconee, Georgia, which is just super close. So my buddy James Argo with Oconee Gold. So thank you so much.
Man, I am very excited to be here.
For being here. So this is cool. Here's the thing. So what they don't know is we sit down and kind of do this all the time. And so now there's just microphones in our face and a camera and some weird guy behind it.
It is weird.
But that's what it is. But all that being said, tell us a little bit about like James and his family.
Well, I'm James Argo, like you said. I'm out of Statham, Georgia, which is in Oconee County. Have Oconee Gold barbecue sauce. I'm married to a beautiful wife, Kelly. She's an educator, much like your wife. I've got two beautiful daughters who are just studs on any athletic court or field you put them on. They obviously take after their mom with that. I've been living in Oconee County since 2015, so almost 10 years. Originally from Snellville, Georgia. I was not always in the barbecue sauce business. I was in telecommunications for 22 years and always did, smoked meats and sauces on the side, and got talked into selling this during the pandemic with some great buddies of mine, the Kegel brothers. We're in the pool, not practicing social distancing like we probably should have, I guess. Just talked me into selling it. Started selling it by word of mouth, and here I am.
Well, what's crazy is I remember, I think it was during COVID, we had a couple conversations. I was like, James, just make it in your kitchen. Come on,
that's
man.
right.
Like, I'm telling you, and it's not that I doubted you.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, I know it's a hard business to get. Like, if you don't go in, like, both feet in, jumping in, it's tough just to gain any ground. Absolutely. So what did you do in the telecommunications business?
So I've done everything in telecom.
Yeah.
I mean, my specialty was probably project management, but I started as a network manager in an access center for Bell South. Was there with the conversion over to AT&T. I've done a lot of contracting work. When I left, I was an operations manager over 3 different cities: Montgomery, Tallahassee, and Atlanta.
Okay.
And those all shut down in one day. Had an opportunity to stay with a company that I was with if I moved to Miami. And I laughed and laughed when they offered me that. And I said, no, I think I'll see what I can do here. And then just started hustling and haven't stopped since.
That's cool. We can talk about hustle in a little bit, because that is one thing that I still in 10 years of just being in the barbecue business, I don't think I've seen someone hustle the way that you hustle.
Well, I appreciate
it's one of those traits that people want to have, but then I think life gets in the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's so many things that can get in the way of us doing that. But all right, so what is it like? How does that conversation go? You're like, hey, Kelly, good news and bad news. Good news is,
Well, so what happened? So in September of 22, I got a call from Striplings, which we all know Striplings, the one in Bogart, Jimmy Camp, and those folks are great people. But we
can't wait. We're going to try to have him on the show too.
Oh,
we had his nephew, Jim Hollinsworth, was the last episode. And I was like, do you think Jimmy will do it? And he's like, Jimmy would totally. He's the best storyteller there is. I was like, I know.
He is. I'd like to be here and watch if you don't mind. Anyway, and so they got me into Striplings in September. Well, that call that I was just telling you about, where they shut down all my markets, happened actually on Halloween. 3 days later, I was picking up my first batch from you guys. Yeah. If y'all don't know, Ryan is my co-packer. So they you had it ready for me. We got one of each flavor. So I was making a pretty small investment into it. And then I got the phone call. So then talking to my wife, I was just like, just let me push it to January. Let's see what we can do till January. And she's like, all right, but as soon as January hits, let's get out there and start seeing what else we can do.
Yeah. Here's what I would say. The number one tip, if you're married, the number one tip, if you're not married, like it doesn't really matter. But if you're married and you are taking a leap of faith or you're going into something and your spouse does not 110% back you, you can't do it.
No.
Because there's going to be so many opportunities where they can be like, I told you so. I don't know how many mistakes I've made over the year. And if Stacy wasn't in my corner where she could be like, see, I told you you're an idiot. Why did you do that? Yeah. Instead, it's like, that's all right. Dust yourself off, get back up, and let's go back at it. But I really think that's always like, everyone sees you and sees the work you're doing or sees the work that I'm doing. And I'm like, if you could be a fly on the wall and listen to all the conversations Stacy has to listen to, she always like, am I on payroll? I'm like, not really. But like all those conversations that like, just because they're happening at our house, like it's still like super important.
Oh,
like,
way important.
Building blocks of a business. And I think that's what is so overlooked. And anyone I talk to that's like, I'm going into business. I'm like, and I know like either I know their wife or I know of them, and I'm like, are they in? And they're like, yeah, I think so. I'm like, no. Don't do anything until you know 100% like that. It doesn't mean they're not for you, but like they're for this idea.
Right.
Because like you're gonna fail. I don't mean overall.
Yes,
but like
you will.
There's going to be failure. And like you need someone who's gonna like, all right, hop back up. Let's get back on the horse.
And she does that for me. Kelly does that for me, definitely. Yeah, she was apprehensive. I mean, as I'm sure any.
She's a teacher, right?
She's a teacher, yes. Yeah. And she was apprehensive. So we pushed it to January. She looked at me one day and she goes, this might be it. This might be your thing. She's like, this is what you love.
Yeah.
Why don't you go do it? And it was a situation where I immediately all these thoughts come crashing into my head. I'm like, oh man, she's on board. We can do this. This is awesome. And so, here it is, not even 2 years later, and 153 stores in 11 states. So it is a hustle. It's a grind. A lot of mileage on my truck, which by the way was not a work truck when I first bought it. Yeah. It is now.
Yeah.
But I'm loving it. I'm loving it, man.
So how would, if you and her are having a conversation when you're like, I'm starting this thing, how would you define success then versus how like you would define? Because I know I have two very different outlooks on like what I think is going to happen and what truly happens, and the way I look at success.
So looking at success back then was, did somebody buy a case? Did somebody buy something from me? That was the success. Did I sell something to someone and they bought it? That was a success story for me back then. And we say back then, it's 19 months ago, right? Yeah. Now it's, did I get multiple accounts in one day? Did I set up something for the future? Did I put out something on Instagram or Facebook that's got a ton of people talking about it and people liking it, which is not, I'm not good at. I'll be the first to tell you that. In fact, I wouldn't even have Instagram if it wasn't for my 16-year-old. And I think she talked me into it. So
very smart, by the way, because I think as Jeremy would say, it's essential.
Oh man,
like in today's day and age,
it's crazy.
It's essential.
It's crazy, and I'm still rolling solo with everything that I do right now.
Yeah,
that's gonna change. It's got to. I can't sustain what I'm doing without bringing folks in.
I have to take naps after talking to you and just hearing what you're doing, because it reminds me of like 8-9 years ago, and I'm like, I don't know how. Like, it's God's provision, right? Like, I think He puts it on your heart to like, and I think He also gives you the strength and the like power to go do it.
Absolutely.
Because like now I think about it, I'm like, I don't think I could do it again. Like I'm tired.
Well, and you're
energized, but like tired.
What are you, 45?
Yeah, 45.
Okay, so you're 45. I'm 47. So imagine
I'm almost 46. By the time this airs, it'll
be
probably
46.
be
Okay, so we'll give you 40. You're mid 40s. Let's say that.
Mid 40s.
I'm now in my upper 40s. Once
Okay.
you hit 47, it's upper 40s.
Yeah.
But think about that. Think about you starting what I'm doing at my age.
Oh,
It's crazy.
yeah.
But Jeremy and I were talking. We just don't feel old. I mean, and I don't feel old. I'll have aches and pains every once in a while, but I got a lot of stuff left to go.
Well, now when I wake up with aches and pains, I'm like, yeah, I did something.
Yeah, I moved.
Like, I can't feel my neck.
Well,
I must have really done something.
It's funny because I did go play football in college, and it was at a Division II level. It wasn't something great, but I was an NCAA athlete. Now my watch has to remind me to get up.
Yeah.
Has to remind me to stand up. Hey, fat guy, it's time to stand up.
Hey, big boy, it's time to get up.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So then how would you guys define success?
Now,
Yeah, now. Like what is that? What is, because I feel like the finish line kind of changes.
yes, it does. Now success is, and I'll be quite honest, let me back up a little bit.
Yeah.
I get envious of not you, but I get and it's not even envious. It's what I want, right? I want to be in all the academies. I want to be in the Bass Pro Shops.
Yeah.
And what that to me is success, getting something going like that where people are like, man, I've heard about your stuff. I like walking into a place and they're like, man, I've heard about you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I met someone yesterday, he's like, hey, you own Oconee Gold? And I was like, yeah. He's like, man, I saw you on Instagram. And I'm like, you did? Well,
Yeah.
You know, had to have been a friend of a friend or something,
No,
you know,
I'm
or
telling
maybe
you, you're
not.
doing
though.
a great job. Like,
I appreciate
you're really getting out there.
I appreciate it. But I'm blessed with support. In order for me to define what success is right now, I think I'm still too new in it.
Yeah.
I still get jacked up about selling cases to people.
Yeah. So I had a point in asking the question because like we are at different stages of the business. And so I would say I always moved out the finish line. And so what would happen is I would be like, I'm not going to be happy until I get into 200 stores, until I get into Academy, until we sell in Australia, like until these things. And what I realized is like, I never really stopped to enjoy like that feeling of selling another case. You know what I mean? Like it almost like, and here's what I would like say, don't get numb to that.
Yeah.
Because like, I think you're missing the fruits of like all the stuff you do if all you're doing is chasing.
Yeah.
And I say that because like, I will tell you this and get off the phone or get off this, make a phone call and it's me chasing.
Yeah.
Like I still do it. It's always easier to like point out, but like if I could go back and start it over again, I would say put trust in other people sooner because that's how like the team that we have is amazing.
Yeah.
But I had to give up control.
That's
in order
hard.
to get there. And what I've found is the more I give up, the more I can enjoy what's being done. Because now Brandon's getting that joy from selling the case, or Paul's getting that joy, or like, I mean, shoot, Jeremy and I last September got to take a trip to Australia. Like, who would have known that was ever going to happen? So it's just like those, like enjoying the fruit of like what you're doing.
So I guess I would define success as getting the invite to go with you to the Keys.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, we're not going to be successful today. So just kidding. There's so many people gunning for
Dang it. I thought that would work.
Well, we should work on the definition of success.
Absolutely. But no, seriously though.
It's enjoying as I'm saying this, I'm like, I still don't enjoy everything that I'm doing. Not because I'm not having a blast,
right?
But it's because I'm always like trying to get to that next level.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people will tell you. Like they get to 50, 60, 70, they built these amazing businesses and like, it's never enough. And so like they're at the table and they've sold and they're like, how do you feel? Empty. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Cause I've worked so hard to build this thing.
Yeah.
And then like at the end of the day, like it doesn't really matter.
Right.
It's about the relationships that you build during it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's what I think my definition of success, like 10 years ago, really, it was like, Stace, we just got to buy groceries. Where now I'm like, oh my gosh, now we have to buy groceries and there's so many other people that have to buy it,
Yeah.
But if you get caught up in that, you miss like the joy
Absolutely.
that can come from it. So
Yeah, you go from being a barbecue sauce guy to a CEO real quick.
ooh, man. All right, so tell us, what's an average day for James look like? And then I want to kind of get in the social media piece because I like what you're doing there, and so I want to kind of talk about it.
So an average day for me is what usually what I try to do is set up deliveries.
Yep.
Because I'm doing all the delivering myself, so I'll get deliveries set up. As I'm getting those deliveries set up, and as I'm going to these places, I'm calling people nonstop while I'm in my truck.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly hitting people up. Hey, it looks like last time I was here was 4 weeks ago. How are you guys doing? And sometimes they're like, oh, it's moving slow. Sometimes they're like, man, it's going quick. I need this, this, and this. And so it's funny when I get man, it's going quick. I need this, this, and this. I get so excited. But when they say it's kind of moving slow, I'm like, yeah, well, it's okay. I don't get down about that.
That's good.
And that's what I'm happy about, right? So an average day is I'm up. I'm old now, man, and I can't sleep past 6. I just can't do it. So I'll get up. Usually Kelly and I will go for a walk. We'll get done. She'll get in the shower. I'll sit there and go through where I'm gonna be today.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And then usually hit the road by 7:30 at the latest.
Yeah.
Because usually I pack up the night before.
Yeah.
And then just hit the road and go until I either have something late in the afternoon, which is usually some sort of sport, and I don't miss those.
That's fantastic.
I make sure of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's, I do love selling barbecue sauce and I love making barbecue sauce, but nothing feels better than being at my kids' sporting events.
That's cool.
Crazy. I don't know why I get so passionate about it, but
Well, I've seen the social videos.
Yeah.
Well, you're able to be there and still promote.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the kids are excited.
Yeah, it's fun. It's all the, everybody, all my kids' friends trip out on the whole get you some and everything like that. So I'll be walking somewhere and one of the kids will be like, get you some. I'm like, yeah, baby.
That's it.
It's
the
fun.
Tagline.
It's fun. It's led into some things. I got to announce my my 8th grade. Well, she's a 9th grader now, but my 8th graders basketball intros, which was a blast. I gave them all nicknames, listed their heights and where they were born. So, it's, I don't know. It's just a lot of fun.
That's fun, man.
I'm getting a lot of opportunities because of this, and I'm extremely humbled by the support by my community.
Well, here's what I will tell you. And this is why I remember the first time we had a conversation. I think Brian was there too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That was with us for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he walked out and Brian's like, what do you think? And I was like, I think he's going to make it in whatever he does. And he's like, why? And I'm like, well, 2 things. A, your product speaks for itself. We can get into that. But like at the end of the day, it's a barbecue sauce. It's a seasoning. It's we always say this, it's more than what's in the bottle. Like there's so much more to it. And a lot of it is the joy. Like you're a big personality. And I mean that in like the kindest way. Like, if you're there or not, like it's always laughter. Like I think there's something about your presence. So when you walk in a store, you can disarm people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the fact is, like most of the time when we walk into a store, they're like, "Oh my gosh, they're trying to sell me something." And that's why I was like, "Look, it's his joy. Like you haven't stopped smiling the whole time,
Right.
and it's contagious."
Yeah. Well,
So I would say,
appreciate it.
don't lose that.
I won't.
Like,
I won't.
I think that keeps you going in the right direction.
Right.
So,
I do have. There's one in particular, and I'm definitely not going to say his name. And I try so hard to be so sweet and kind to him.
Yeah.
And he's just like, all right, let me go check. Let me see what I need. I'll be like, hey, so-and-so, this is James Argo from Oconee Gold.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, all right, hang on. And he goes and looks at what he needs. Buddy comes back and he's like, yeah, let me get 3 cases of this, 4 cases. I'm like, all right. I'm going to get him to smile one day.
But I mean, the way I see it is like, be you. And like, you can't control. I always say, like, I mean, I don't say it, but hurt people. And so a lot of times we can take that personally.
Yep.
You know, if someone's just, and everyone's personality is not the same.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, God gave you the personality you have. And so, like, use that to its fullest.
Yeah.
And understand that's what I always take it so personal. And Stacey would be like, that person, they're not mad at you.
Right.
Like, your sauce or seasoning didn't sell. Like, why is it the end of the world? Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, because I want it to be in every kitchen,
That's right.
You know?
Well, and we are, you know, our passion is in here, right? Our passion
100%.
is in every single bottle.
Every single one.
So if somebody doesn't like it, like if somebody has an issue with it, I always will offer some sort of replacement or refund. I hope, hopefully, as I get bigger in this business, hopefully I'm able to continue to do that.
Well, I think you have to set your goals, and you have to set those like non-negotiables. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what I always tell them. They're like, how, when you grow, like, are you going to be able to write thank you cards for every order? Yeah. It's like, well, you just hire more people to write thank you cards.
That's right.
Wait, wouldn't it be cheaper just to not? I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a money thing. It's a heart thing.
I've had people comment to me about you doing that.
Really?
Yeah. And that's huge, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because I definitely name drop you all the time, dude. If I'm trying to get into a store,
I would stop doing that. I don't know that it's really benefiting you. I think you could just be you, and you will be just fine.
They think I have legitimacy when I say, well, you know, Ryan Lane, a good buddy of mine, is my co-packer.
Yeah.
And they got you on the shelf already. Yeah. So that helps. Yeah. But then someone will bring that up. I'm like, you know, because he's a good person. That's why that happens. And that's true.
Well, ultimately, like, yes, we love our products, but that's why we started co-packing, is to help. We had so many issues in the beginning with people not calling us back or having these, and I say, like, as I say, crazy minimums. Our minimums are going up too, because now I understand more of the process, but I think you can still have larger things that you're getting to, but still listen to people. Yeah, and that's what 100%. I think. People are just like, whatever.
100%. Totally agree.
That's where we kind of stand. And we've got a lot of like mutual friends in common. So
yeah, we do.
All right. So what is the hardest thing? Maybe it is social media, but what's the hardest thing? Like, one thing that you didn't see coming, like in starting the business, what's been the biggest challenge?
And this isn't to be arrogant, so I don't want to, but running out of stuff, like that's a challenge that I face nonstop. I'm getting better, because I'm understanding y'all's schedule a little bit better.
Forecasting's tough. Like,
it's tough.
We run into it and we manufacture it, like on our end.
Yeah,
like it still happens.
Well, and it's like you know, you have to have the ingredients, you have to have the bottles, you have to have the caps, you have to have the labels. And all those things take production. Mm-hmm. All those things are, you know, you have to combine it all together and get it on the certain date, right? So luckily you are blessed with some great leadership.
Oh yeah.
You know, Thor and KP really, they take care of me. Yeah. And they'll let me know, hey, look, man, I got this big order right in front of you. So if you want something, now's the time. Yeah. And then usually within an hour or two, I call them back and say, okay, here's what I need. Yeah. You know, and that's been great. It's been great, but it is something that I have had to deal with. Being able to, you know, and this will change once I expand and have employees. But right now, it's tough being in one corner of the state and then having to go to the other corner of the state the next day.
Yeah.
To make deliveries and sales and things like that.
I can't even imagine like trying to work through that right now.
It's a lot of windshield time, buddy.
Man. So the toughest thing has been just the running out?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just the management of inventory.
Management of inventory is the hardest thing, and then being in more than one place at one time.
All right, so then let's talk. So mine would always be cash flow. Which can probably go with the other two.
Yep.
And that's what I'm always asked, like, what would you rather, like, of course, everyone wants to be profitable, but I think you can be profitable. You can have a growing business, and you cannot have cash.
Yeah.
It just happens.
Yeah,
so how have you managed cash flow throughout the process?
I mean, the way to manage cash flow is, man, that's a hard question to answer, because it varies. It varies. It's you've got to. I've got to be I feel like I'm a collector for a bookie sometimes, because I'm having to constantly go after people.
You are.
I know it.
That should go on the name.
Yes,
you know what I mean? So many titles.
And I may or may not have done that in my past. I'm not saying that I have.
This is not the place to talk about.
That's right. Anyway, so
just kidding.
So that's a little bit tough, is having to go out, and a lot of times it's people that just, they are my one customer. A certain store is my one customer. They have hundreds of customers.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's their charcoal supplier, or Miss Simpson, who comes in to buy cantaloupe. Whatever.
Yeah.
And so sometimes they miss it.
Yeah.
And so I hate having to hunt down money. I hate it.
Yep.
But I've got to constantly do it.
You do. As you grow, it's one of the most important things.
Oh, 100%.
I know we've had tons of conversations, but they don't know all the conversations we've had.
That's right.
I think it's great to just say out loud, because I think a lot of people will go into business thinking the only thing I need to do is sell product.
Yeah.
And the truth is, that's sometimes the last thing that you do once you get into it, because of all the other things, like whether that be social media or your label design, your product development.
Yep.
There's just a lot of inventory management. There's a lot of different things that go into it.
Right. There are. It's and I am fortunate. I've like, I'm not gonna say I've hit home runs, but I've had some nice hits especially with my label design. I think it's great. I think it's
fantastic. Is it a local guy that did that?
It's Mike Parsons with Fireside.
Yeah.
He's awesome. And because he's done such a great job, I try to push other people his way too.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I've done since I got started, is if somebody does something good for me, I'm gonna pay it back by referring them.
Yeah.
I will definitely do it. We had for part of my wife's Mother's Day present, she got her Yukon detailed.
Yeah.
Which is not something I like paying for, as you can see the inside of my truck. But so that was part of Mother's Day, and we had a great kid come do it yesterday, and I was like, dude, you did a great job. Let's see what we can do. So then I pushed it out on social media. We've had all kinds of people like it.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, I was like, dang, he's
awesome.
actually posting a lot of stuff too, which is good.
Yeah, it is. And you look in the vehicle and you're like, wow, he did a good job.
He wrapped the steering wheel.
He did, dude. And here's what's funny.
I was like, that's like something that most people would not go into.
So I put it into the garage and kept that wrap on there so my wife could see it. I was like, look what this guy did.
Yeah, I thought that was really
impressive. It was really good, really good. Washing Wagons is the name of it. Robert Pemberton, shout out. Good job, brother.
That's
young
awesome.
Kid. I think he's a junior in high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. And here's what I love more than anything is the hustle.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I'm always like drawn to you and your story, which is why I wanted to have you on here, is just a lot of people think that you can just have an idea and go execute.
Yeah.
The truth is, like, there's so much hustle that goes into it.
It is.
And it's staying positive, because there's a lot of things that can get you down. Like, it's great if someone says they don't want anything and you're okay. I tend to not be okay. I'm like, maybe you're mistaken,
Yeah.
But I think just having that attitude, and that's sales. Like being able to hear no, 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 and be like, all right, well, just waiting on that next yes.
Well, and what's funny is with my product is, I act like I just brush everything off. That's not necessarily 100% true.
Yeah.
Like with my product, I always go in with, hey, try this out. I think you'll like it.
Yeah.
And if they don't like mustard, because my first 4 were mustard based sauces, I tell them, just try it out. And if you don't like it, that's fine. The ones that don't try it, I remember who they are. and I'm going through the names in my head right now.
Yeah.
And I will remember that. And they just kind of shooed me out the door, and that's fine. But to me, I don't necessarily. I won't go through the effort of trying to get them again. If they call me, I'll come in and see them. But
100%.
I'm not.
I'll sell it to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because those are like, we have some clients that it took us a while to get them, and now they're some of our best.
Yeah.
Like they just needed a little bit more to believe in.
Well, there's.
You know what I mean?
what they.
And they got a lot of products.
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of the places I'm going in have tons and tons of stuff on their shelves.
Yeah.
Tons of great stuff. I mean, I'm up against big boys like Lane's is a big boy. Meat Church, Heath Riles, Malcolm Reed, all those guys. They're huge, and you guys have been cooking delicious stuff for years and years and years.
So I haven't met Malcolm, but I've met Heath and Matt, and the problem is they're both great guys.
I know it.
And so it's like you want to, but here's what I love is like the competition. I think it makes us all better.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, dang, they're actually good dudes too.
Yeah. Well, but here's what's great. I haven't met a lot of jerks in this industry.
No.
I mean, I've had people that out of nowhere, one guy in particular who's in Georgia. I don't know if you know Mitchell Bedwell or not.
Yeah. In fact, Mitchell helps with Heath.
Yes.
Or worked
now
did
he
something
does.
with his competition team or something
Yeah,
like that.
so I think Mitchell...
He reached out just the other day.
So Mitchell pushed my stuff and got it in front of a couple of guys. One guy out of Chicago named Brian Weeze Calhoun. Shout out to Weeze. He's awesome. He's a great dude.
Yeah.
And then Josh Hess from Hess Hogs. And so these guys are like, man, they love my wingy and my white gold in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. And so they're like, you guys got to try this out. And they know everybody in competition.
Yeah.
And so we were talking earlier, but that's how I got out to the American Royal.
Okay.
Because those guys are like, dude, come out. We'll do a little wing thing for you.
That's cool.
And so, but back to my point, there's just so many great people in the industry, in this industry that help you out, that want you to succeed. And I love it because guess what? In telecom contracting, they cut in your throat for an extra penny.
Really?
Guaranteed. It's crazy.
I think that's why I love this industry. And that doesn't mean like we're all gunning for shelf space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, I mean, we have a business. But I think when we go into a shop, if like Matt Pittman's stuff's on there, if Heath Rouse's stuff on there, Jess Pryles, like hardcore carnivore, she's got a great brand.
She's awesome.
If they're on the shelves, I want to be on the shelf.
100%.
I found our product moves so much better, like because the person who's coming in that's mostly buying ours, they also, if you open up their cabinet, has a bottle of Meat Church or has a bottle of hardcore black or whatever it is. There. And I think that's what makes it great is because I think especially in the barbecue world in particular, like they're just fans of barbecue.
Yeah.
And our goal is now, like, of course it's barbecue. We were never really involved in the competition scene. But it's also like, we need to be more in the kitchen. A lot of our label design has always been designed around that. Like, we want it sitting on the counter, which is why I love your labels, too. They're clean, they're simple. But just being in the kitchen. Like, not everyone has a grill.
Right.
Not everyone has a space that they can be outside cooking. And so how do we bring those flavors inside?
Right.
And that's really like kind of what we've been working through is like, are we forgetting all those other people when like they love to cook too?
Yeah.
All right. So before we get too far into this, because we're like wrapping soon, but like tell us about the products. Like what do you have?
So I've got 6 sauce flavors and 1 rub on the market.
Okay.
My best seller is my original. That's the one I've been selling the longest. Been making it the longest. It's a sweet mustard based sauce.
Yep.
That's really good on everything. Kids love it, by the way. So that's one thing that's helped a bunch. I have people come up, man, my kids love that original sauce.
Yeah.
But then I've also got from that we've got spicy, which is it's original with a little cayenne pepper in it. I've got my jalapeno, which isn't really that spicy. It's got just a little hint
I love
of
the
jalapeno.
flavor profile of the jalapeno.
It was mine until I started making the white gold.
Yeah.
So my white gold is I don't want to call it an Alabama white because it's not really doing it justice by saying that, because it's not really white.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's kind of like you're sort of white right here, but it's got it's a mayonnaise base, but it's by far my favorite. It's got a little bit of a kick because of some cayenne pepper in it. It's great I love it on beef. I love it on beef. It's crazy because that's not why I made it. I did not make it to go on beef, but it's great on beef. I've got my wingy, which is a straight up wing sauce. I do like to make baby backs with it though, which it's something I didn't expect.
I wouldn't have thought
it's
that.
crazy. They're delicious though. And you can take those baby backs that are in the wingy and dip it into the white gold. I'm just saying, you don't have to, but you can.
I probably will.
I
will. I know I will. Yeah.
And then the coolest sauce that I've been able to make is my Big Jim's Carolina Red. I'm originally from a little town in North Carolina called Welcome, North Carolina, which is right next to Lexington. And if you know barbecue, you know Lexington has got a huge barbecue tradition. But this was my dad's recipe, and my dad learned how to make it because he had some buddies that were part of the volunteer fire department. And so they would be on 24-hour shifts. So he would go hang out with them at the fire department and smoke meat all night. He says we would smoke meat, tell lies, and play cards. And I'm like, well, that sounds like a great time.
Yeah.
But this was the sauce, or what they call a dip. This was the dip that they made. So it's Big Jim's Carolina Red. It's a straight up Carolina vinegar sauce. And then I've got my all-purpose rub, which is Oconee Gold Dust, which to me, I'd put it on everything. It can be on chicken, fish, pork, beef. It's great on French fries. We do it on veggies weekly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a great all-purpose rub. Got a little sweetness, smokiness, and spiciness to it. So it's, I've got a couple of more in the hopper. They're just not ready to roll yet.
Yeah.
They will be. I promised myself I'm not forcing anything out there until I think it's ready.
That's cool.
So yeah, a couple more rubs, a couple more sauces coming.
That's cool. So what's the goal? Like, after we talked about success and finish lines and stuff like that, but what is, like, do you have something that you've envisioned on, like, I want this many products? Because we were having our leadership meeting today, and we're like, man, we got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you do.
Like, it's almost overwhelming. Like,
Right.
when marketing doesn't really have time to talk about everything, you have too much.
Yep.
And so it's like, how do we, like, keep what we love and what we love to talk about? I'm like, the only one I'll fight for is Kunami.
Yeah.
Like, anything else, you can probably talk me out of it.
Right.
But, like, if I have to personally fund Kunami,
You're going
keep
to.
it on. Absolutely.
So good.
Absolutely.
So good, man. And not to get off on a side note, but that's what I broke. I mean, that's when I started tasting different rubs, was the first time I had Kunami.
Yeah.
That was the first time that I was just like, dang, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with these rubs.
Yeah.
Because I was just doing my own,
Yeah, well, most people have their barbecue, like, all-purpose seasoning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it be sweet or savory.
Yeah.
And that's when, like, Brian and I were working, Kunami was the hardest one to, like, try to figure out, because I knew I wanted it to be different.
Yeah.
So the problem is it's different.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you, with it being different, like, work it back into the fold and, like, in people's kitchens?
Well, and it's my favorite one of y'all's is the sriracha rub.
Oh, the honey sriracha? Oh, yeah.
That's my stuff.
Have you had it on bacon yet?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, man.
Come on. I haven't had a meat that I haven't put honey sriracha on.
So
It's great on wings too, by the
Yeah.
way. I tend to end up using Oconee Gold Dust more than anything
I
because
think you should.
I always have tons of it.
That's
So, but yeah, it's your rubs are the ones that started me really kind of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do that. So
Yeah. I will say we sell more seasonings than sauces. But I mean, just getting out there and finding the right
and
people.
so what I've seen is the competition is the seasoning game. I mean, there's so many more seasonings out there.
Yeah.
And that's what people, I think, like. The whole dry rub type of ribs came out, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago was the first time I had ever had it. And I was like, man, this is really good. I'm sure there's parts of the country that have been doing it for decades and decades. But the first time I ever had it was then. I was like, man, maybe I don't need any sauce.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I would always get asked to bring mine to a cookout. So, yeah, it's just a little combo of both. Yes, you guys have a lot of cool stuff, a lot of stuff that I use on the reg, but I do like my sauces too, definitely.
Well, you should.
I do.
You got to keep selling them.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe a few more sauces.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't really
dry.
thought of a number. I haven't thought of a
Yeah.
number. 10 and 5 sounds good to me. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right, mental note, Jay. We need to knock it down to 10 and 5. You know.
Yeah,
We're looking at the list today. I'm like, I don't even remember that rub. When did that come out?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, but the thing that I like about what you guys do is when you do your house divided. I love your little, you know, that to me is light bulbs go off with that. I've got one that I've mentioned to you before, and I'm still holding out hope that we'll do a house divided on that. So I won't mention it on this podcast. That I love mixing Oconee Gold Dust with one of your rubs for ribs that I think is.
We've been talking about it. It's time to probably do something new. So
I mean, we'll talk.
yeah, that's cool. All right, so business is going well.
Business going well, yeah.
Family's going well.
Better than I can expect.
That's fantastic. So how do you find that happy medium? Because you said something earlier, like, I don't miss games. And I was
Right.
like, that's so great. My problem is I was at games. I was coaching. I was doing whatever, but I wasn't mentally there. Mm-hmm. So I think that's good if you're like, man, I'm there. I'm reading off names. I'm calling kids out, you know.
I am able to turn things off pretty well.
That's great.
It's funny when you said you watch me and you're like, I got to take a nap afterwards. I do. I take a 20-minute nap almost daily.
That's great.
Even if it's
recharge.
Even if it's parked in a parking lot with air conditioning on, listening to sports talk.
Yeah.
I will crash for 20 minutes, and it's the best thing that ever happens to me. So I'm able to turn it off. I'm able to turn it off to an extent.
I think that's great advice too, because I think a lot of times people just watch other people and feel like they need to do it that way instead of understanding who you are, and I think understanding your why. Like it sounds like your why are those girls and your wife.
100%.
Like that is the why. So like to do all the other stuff, but to not be at those things, it doesn't make much sense.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So that's what I would say. Whenever you start to question your why, that's when usually my wife will tell me. But she's like, hey, why aren't you doing that? I'm like, well, I have a meeting. She's like, don't you get to decide if you have meetings or not? I'm like, well, still. She's like, you should probably usually when she's like, you should probably pray about that. I know I've done something wrong.
Yeah, man.
So, all right, well, cool. Well, listen, we can talk about social media real quick. I know you fought it for how long?
Golly, forever, man. I hated it.
And what is it about it that you do not like?
I think that there's a lot of negative stuff that gets pushed out.
Sure.
I see how it influences, our society completely. That being said, it also can be extremely beneficial. In the business world, it is. In our business, it's very beneficial. I have complete respect of these people that are making money putting out videos of cooking and things like that. I think that I don't want it to give. I think you get in trouble when you start looking at someone and they're flashing a big wad of cash sitting in front of a Ferrari, and you have no idea what's going on.
No.
You have no idea.
Most people that are running busizases aren't driving Ferraris. Well, they might be. I don't know. I'm not friends with them.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. That's good. Well, here's what I would say. Here's the thing. If you are going to do it, I think consistency is important.
Yes.
And that's what I've really noticed over the past 6 months is even when you guys just did, was it Pollock's golf tournament?
Yeah.
And you had all those guys coming up. I'm like, oh my God. But it was the consistency piece. Like you had everyone record the same thing and like day by day.
Yeah.
You just kind of dropped, and you had some pretty big names.
It was cool.
Which does help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It does a lot. Yeah.
But it's all about just getting out there, putting yourself out there, and then just like getting up the next day and doing it again.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's all about doing something. Not everything is about, pointing up at a sign saying, hey, number 130 or whatever. It's not, sometimes you got to put in, something, like my kid winning a championship or something.
Yeah.
Or, blocking some girl's shot or something, which I love, by the way, when they block shots. I love it. But things like that, it's you don't always have to but you have to be consistent. Consistency is the key. Like I said, it's a necessary evil, I guess, is what you'd call it for me. And I'll continue to do it. Would love to have someone do it for me. I'm just too cheap to pay somebody right now.
So that's my next question. So you can make one change to your business, whether it be an addition or a subtraction, and money is not an object. It's just something that you get to add or take away. But you're kind of still starting. So what is one thing? Money's no object, but one thing that would you think take you to the next level?
I mean, if money's no object, a top-notch sales delivery guy. Because I've been in operations my whole life.
Yeah. That surprises me. Not the operations piece, but that not in sales.
Not in sales, isn't that? But I've always been in operations. And so to me, I know how to make sales.
Yeah.
But I don't know it like the back of my hand. I'm pretty good at operations, but I would like to have a top-notch director of sales. It is all right, here's what we're going to do. Here's the game plan. Here's how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Because mine is just hustling. Mine's just, all right, well, giving someone a phone call and seeing if they need something.
Yeah.
And while I'm there in that area, I'm going to hit 3 other stores that are within 20 miles.
Yeah.
That I have never talked to before.
Yeah.
And I would love someone to be like, here's how I would do it, and then, so
that's cool. All right, so a sales guy, that's good.
Big time sales guy.
Big time. Someone who's got experience.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. All right. Well, what's next for James?
Well, right now, I mean, if I can do a little plug-in promo, so
this is the space
to do it. So all summer long, on our website, we're giving $2 off of our individual bottles.
Cool.
So they drop from $10 to $8 a bottle for all the individual ones. I'm also going to be putting out some giveaways coming up. Also got a little promotion that I'm going to do for the summer that has to do with these beautiful stickers here, or anywhere you might see one of these stickers put on a cooler, or maybe at Floribama there might be a few stickers there. But if you guys will post something of you pointing up at it like my big goofy butt does, when I get into new stores, we're going to have a little bit of a contest and do some giveaways for that. But I'll mention that a little bit later. We're probably going to start that about beginning of June. So next few days. So yeah,
sweet.
Man. So hustling every day, baby.
I get it's something. Your smile, it's contagious. It makes me want to smile. You know what I mean? It's something about it. That probably sounded weird. Jeremy can probably edit that out.
Well, it's all right.
But anyways, all right. So, kind of barbecue sauce aside, what is a meal that you guys love to cook as a family?
Well, I mean, last night was Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
Right. So one thing that I've done that I will always do is every year me and a buddy go in and split a cow.
Okay.
We buy a cow.
Yeah.
And have it all processed and everything. Shout out to Rosie's Hometown Meats in Watkinsville, the Dickens family.
They carry our stuff.
Man,
they're awesome.
Dude, they're awesome, and their beef is delicious.
Yeah.
So the Dickens family hooked me up. So we split a cow. So I have tons and tons of delicious ground beef. So we do Taco Tuesday every Tuesday night. Cool. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So you do taco bar, or you make all the tacos and you show up and you eat?
I'm trying to low carb it, so I don't eat tacos. So we did taco bowls last night.
Okay.
So it's just, for me, it's just a bunch of meat, guac, cheese, lettuce, salsa.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, James, this has been awesome.
I enjoyed it.
I can sit here. Actually, we have talked for hours, but just going back and forth, I love the enthusiasm that you bring. I think anyone reach out. What is a great way for someone to reach out to you through social media, like your social media channels?
So social media, most everything is under Oconee Gold. You can find me on Instagram on Oconee Gold. Also on Facebook, I think it's Oconee Gold BBQ sauce, but just put in Oconee Gold, it'll pop up. I'm on X, just not very often. TikTok, not a whole lot, but I am on there.
Telling you, we've seen some crazy growth on TikTok.
It's funny.
Like 6, it's nuts.
It's funny. Like I'll post a video and immediately I start gaining followers.
Yeah.
The problem is most of mine are pictures.
Yeah.
So until I have a summary of, hey, I've gotten these last 10 stores and can do a video.
Yeah.
So so that's the best way to get in touch with me. Go to our website, OconeeGoldBBQSauce.com, to get that special.
Cool. Well, hopefully all you guys listening, just to James and his story and starting out and getting after it and just the hustle and the grind and just realizing like it is a grind, but it can be one of the most fulfilling things. Yeah. If it's what you're driven to do, I think the sooner you can do it, the better. It might not always be great advice, but I would say if you do and you are married, make sure that your spouse is 110% on board, because I think that's essential.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for sharing. I know like you're going to be on all the shelves. Like I just know it. It's one of those things you can instinctively feel that like you are not going to take no for an answer and you're just going to go get it. So
I'm going to try.
Guys, make sure like we love all the feedback. Comment, like it, share it. Reviews would be wonderful. So that's how the algorithm thing picks it up. Yeah, once people see the reviews, they'll show it more. It'll be great. And James, we'll see you soon.
Yeah, get you some.